I am learning so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. Welcome to the information era, where everyone on the streets has a computer in their pocket, but nobody really knows shit.
Let's think this through.
Let's think this through. Episode 5. I'll say the introduction if you don't know who I am at this point of your viewing experience. I don't know what to tell you. Let's get right to it. Basically, what I am doing with this series is I'm introducing a whole host of topics that I am sure if you watch this through to its conclusion, that will inspire critical thought. This isn't just a ramble of just my thoughts. And when I had the Just My Thoughts series, it was just really me in the midst of not necessarily a freestyle, because I pre-wrote every episode of Just My Thoughts. But after I wrote down the bullet points, yes, it was indeed a freestyle. And there will be freestyle elements to this, but there will certainly be a bit more of a structure to these thoughts, so that we make sure that we stay on message. And that structure is as follows. The structure that I am following is based in a scientific method. The scientific method itself has many different variations. I mean, I found an endless amount of them online. The one that suits this particular podcast the best as far as framework and structure, and goes as follows. First, we will make an observation. Then we will ask a question based on that observation. Then we will form a hypothesis that answers the question. And then we will make a prediction based on the hypothesis. We will do some experiments. Typically, experiments are in controlled environments where you can control all of the variables. This, because I am not a scientist, I am an artist, artistically interpreting a scientific method or using it as a structure. Experiment will be more like experience, where I will be plugging in my life experiences and I will be testifying, and I will be giving you my wisdom, and you can pretty much do what you will after that. Then after we make the prediction and go through the experiment or experience, we will take all of that, and we will take all of that, what we talked about, and we will then analyze the data. That is the final step. Well, kind of. The final step is really up to you, the viewer, the listener, where you can take what I tell you artistically. You can take my art and my wisdom and all of this stuff associated in between there, and you can either accept what I tell you, accept my wisdom for what it is, art for what it is, or you can reject that wisdom. And it really doesn't make me any never mind on which one you do. Why? Is it because I'm Chuck who doesn't give a not at all. It's because in the grand scheme it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you agree with me or disagree with me. What matters is the space between your ears, getting involved and becoming active. Critical thought is a great thing. So even if I reach just one person and make them think over some stuff and be like, kid at a point, then that's absolutely fantastic. often those of us who consider ourselves to be woke, as soon as we wake up, we're just like, I gotta tell the world, I gotta wake everybody else up. And in reality, everybody will wake up on their own speed. And that's just what it is. You can't pull people out of bed who ain't ready to get out. So, our observation for episode 5 is as follows. Lately, well, not even lately, for quite some time, I have observed as I'm continuing on my creative journey and writing my books and finishing up or putting the finishing touches on my last book, which will be out next summer. I'm excited. I have been making an observation. I have been contemplating the pursuit of pleasure versus the pursuit of purpose for quite some time now. And because I'm writing the Poet's Pursuit of Pleasure series, it's no wonder that I have been kind of rethinking everything. And whereas I am putting the pursuit of pleasure toe-to-toe with the pursuit of purpose. And I'm examining that in my own life and in society at large as far as I can tell. And when I came up with this, my observation led me to this question. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The reason why I even bring that up is because the word happiness seems very interchangeable with pleasure. People will say that which gives me pleasure makes me happy, and other people would say that which makes me happy gives me pleasure. Some people think other things when you say the word pleasure, but it led me to think about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which brings me to the question. The question was actually inspired by John Daly of The Daily Show. And he broke down life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And inside of that, he asked this question. He said, he didn't ask a question. He actually made a statement. And that statement was, I think the forefathers got it wrong. It's not about chasing pleasure. It's one should ask themselves, are they useful? One should ask themselves, should they be useful? It's better to be purposeful and useful than to chase pleasure. And through that purpose, you will find all unimaginable pleasure. That's interesting. So I will ask my question officially. Did the forefathers get it wrong? Did the forefathers get it wrong? Now we will form a hypothesis that answers the question. And the hypothesis is partly. And the reason why I say partly is because happiness, purpose, and pleasure all seem to be related, at least conceptually. And telling anyone they have the right to pursue happiness, i.e. pleasure, they're only giving you half the game. They're certainly not telling you how to maintain that happiness or any other aspect like, what do you do once you get it? So if you're only giving somebody half the story, aren't you inevitably setting them up for failure? If you're only telling someone half of the story, aren't you inevitably setting them up to fail? It's prediction time. And my prediction is that after I explain how happiness is found and achieved, as if you didn't know, or some of the ways which they are achieved, that you too will come to the conclusion that, yeah, the founding fathers set us up to fail. Pretty much. Or at least if they didn't set us up to fail, they, at the bare minimum, certainly got it wrong. Consider eating a donut. Eating a donut can be exciting, stimulating to the senses, and indeed quite desirable. But But a donut is a short-term pleasure with long-term consequences, assuming you eat many donuts on a regular basis. At the end of the day, it seems that consequences, how we take them in consideration, and how we inevitably deal with the karma of our own decisions, with the karma of our choices, is what determines how long and how often happiness stays with us. As I said in the beginning, there's karma associated with everything we do. So just dealing with the karma of our choices and how we interpret our karma and how we interpret our situations truly is what keeps happiness either with us or from happiness leaving us. Two people can experience the same thing, and one person could view themselves as a loser and the other person could view themselves as a winner, and they could have attained the exact same thing. Who would be happy in that scenario is a no-brainer. Who took that same achievement and spun it into a positive is the victor here in life's great lottery of trying to be happy. I think that explains a lot of what's going on in the world today and just people's perception. I know that last statement would have a hard time standing toe-to-toe with something extraordinarily literal. If you can't pay your bills, if you cannot pay your bills, you simply can't perceive that your bills are paid and not get the lights cut off. Once upon a time, I attempted to bargain with God. In my search for purpose, I tried to leverage my talent with words for fame, fortune, and notoriety. In exchange for my desires, I would use my love of language to testify about the glory of the Lord. To me, this sounded like a win-win. So much so, I justified my vanity by claiming it was somehow serving a higher purpose. I was mistaken. Mistaken in thinking that somehow my ego could somehow leverage skill for glory. I was mistaken in somehow thinking an omnipotent being needed something from me. Well, the ultimate mistake that I was making in that bargain with God was not realizing that our happiness really depends on the foundation of what we're doing at any given time. So what was the foundation? And the foundation was really pleasure or vanity. I was seeking vanity and I was seeking pleasure, and I was trying to justify that pursuit of pleasure, happiness, trying to fulfill the vanity part of me, my ego was basically bargaining with the Lord herself. And being young in my faith and really not understanding how it works is you have to have you have to have a stable foundation for you to build anything. And vanity and emotions are really not a foundation on which to build on. At least not a strong one, at least. So I would inevitably learn that I would ultimately learn that God was basically like, that's no deal. I don't gamble, and that's not how it works. And I would find happiness later in that purpose. Like, okay, you have this gift, you have this talent, and you are doing a niche thing, okay? You may not reach millions and millions and millions of people around the world, but that's okay. Ultimately, how do you feel? And I was at odds with our Lord because I just couldn't believe it was that easy. Ultimately, I'm like, I asked God, well, what am I supposed to do? And God is like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, create. And God is like, well, do that. And I'm like, could it really be that simple? Is that really the key to your purpose? Like, just do what you love doing? Could it just that be that freaking simple? And God is like, yeah. Okay. So then I do what I love to do, and which is create. And yeah, I'm certainly not the biggest podcaster by any stretch of the imagination. I am certainly not the New York Times best-selling author, although my books have done fairly well for an independent guy. I'm not racking up gazillions and hundreds and thousands of views. However, people do watch. People do check it out. And every now and then, somebody is deeply moved, they are deeply touched, and their life is forever changed. Walking in your purpose. And within walking in finding my own purpose and doing in essence what I love to do, I am extraordinarily happy. Imagine that. So this started out as a bargain. This started out as a bargain with the Lord, and I found out that the only person playing this game was me. So let's go back to the donut and how pleasing or pleasurable eating a freaking donut could be, especially if it's warm, glazed, and served with a cup of coffee, Colombian, preferably. But there are consequences, especially for eating donuts over a long period of time. And that is a metaphor. That's an example for everything. There's a karma associated with everything we do, no? So no different than any choice we make. Every choice is not necessarily a donut. Not every choice boils down to donut versus broccoli. But there are consequences with everything. I.e., there are consequences or there is karma associated with everything we do. So, in my bargain with God, my sponsor was vanity. My sponsor was power. My sponsor was putting God second. My sponsor was fearful. Fear was the sponsor. Fear of not succeeding. Fear of not being successful. Fear of not being popular. Fear of not being good enough. After I dropped the fear and picked up the love and just simply did what I love to do, fear went away. Fear was no longer the sponsor. Yay! So, let's analyze what we said. Let's analyze the data, shall we? I don't have to recap this because it really recaps itself. You are the one ultimately in control of your own happiness. It is my belief that no one can steal your joy. No one can take it from you. People can certainly help you take your eye off the ball. If you choose to focus on what they are doing, you will certainly, happiness may certainly be elusive to you. But ultimately, you're in control. And yes, it's that simple. In hindsight, should there be another nation and they should write another constitution, it would be nice if the founding fathers and mothers would take something a bit more meaningful or substantive into account when writing the words that will make a declaration over over its collective citizens. What do you think? You can accept what I'm telling you. You can accept my wisdom. You can take it with a grain of salt. Hopefully you like its artistic value. Or you can reject what I'm telling you. And you may have some interesting thoughts of your own. I would love to hear them. Holler at me in the comment section. Please keep it respectful. And for some racier content or some more gully check me out on Patreon, Graffiti Bleu Worldwide. And it doesn't really matter if you agree or disagree with anything you heard here tonight. Ultimately, you know what I'm about. It's more important that we got that muscle between your ears active. Till next time, take care of yourselves.